And one of the songs featured in this film is the following one, and it goes a little bit like this. If you wanna be happy for the rest of your life, never make a pretty woman your wife. So from my personal point of view, get an ugly girl to marry you. If you wanna be happy for the rest of your life, never make a pretty woman your wife. So from my personal point of view, get an ugly girl to marry you. If you wanna be happy for the rest of your life, never make a pretty woman your wife. And it couldn't be further from the truth, that's for sure. So sometimes those not so attractive girls are more faithful than the pretty ones. That would be the whole 9 yards. But if you are lucky enough, maybe you'll find a girl or a woman who is pretty both on the inside and on the outside.
What was your favorite part?
Hi there guys, I hope you're well. Welcome back to my channel called Blast and the Past, and this is yet another edition of Blast and the Past Raw Unplugged, as little editing as possible and as quickly and as painless as possible. And today I would like to put in my 2 or 3 or 4 cents on the motion picture called The Fabelmans from 2022, directed by Steven Spielberg and co-written by Steven Spielberg too. And it is about Steven Spielberg on top of that, so this is the whole package, this is the whole 9 yards, if we may call it like that. But trust me, this film, it's something remarkable. It shows the magic of the cinema. It is just a love letter to the cinema. It shows how Spielberg has always been passionate about making films, about filmmaking, about creating something, and it's an origin story. It shows it from the very beginnings until some point later in time. Although the film is a pretty long one because it runs for over 2 hours, 2.5, it is definitely too short because it ends where it's supposed to take off, unfortunately. But that's just a minor setback, because apart from that, it really has a compelling narrative, very interesting plot, the relationships between the family members, how Spielberg mastered his craft in his free time, how devoted he was to this art, to the cinema. And I think that we could call it a spiritual successor to Cinema Paradiso, which I haven't seen yet, unfortunately, but I know how big of a film it is. But definitely The Fabelmans is something. And this is a great drama, a biopic, semi-fictionalized, but apparently Spielberg claims that most of it is true. And
Cinema Paradiso, the new version.
it doesn't matter if you are a fan of Spielberg or not, this film is good for any audience, regardless of their personal predilection in terms of the director and his works, because it shows what is important in the cinema. It also shows that the road to success is paved with a lot of effort and tears, and you just have to suck it up and go through all the obstacles, weather all the storms, until you reach your goal, and then the sky is the limit, as they say. So without further ado, buckle up and let's sink our teeth into this, shall we?
You stop making movies, it'll break your mother's heart.
First things first, this is a 4K edition of the Fabelmans. Obviously, as you can see, it's a double pack, but surprise, surprise, there is only one disc, because it's a used item. But here we have the front. Well, very climatic, right? You can see that it opens the door towards a different dimension, the dimension of the cinema. Here we have the spine, and here we have the back. Actually, this is the Italian edition, but as I've mentioned, oh, there is only one disc in here, and this is the 4K one. And that would be it. I think that the packaging is very slick, as I like to call it, very elegant. Even the layout and the colors, they are great, because there is a little bit of gold, I would say, and black or dark, so this is a great choice.
Sammy's on my team, takes after me.
And generally it offers a nice presentation, not only in terms of what it looks like in here, the packaging, the cover, but also what it looks like on the screen. But about that in a sec. Regarding the technical details, I may not have the full 4K setup, unfortunately, but what I do have is good enough to appreciate the picture quality of this, and this is as sharp as it gets. really you feel like you were succumbed into the events shown in the film, into the intimate moments of Spielberg's life. Although probably not everything is true, most of it, according to the director, is. And whenever he was on set and he was asked whether this was true, whether that was true, he would always almost be in tears and he would say, yes, 100%. So that was a very personal film, and the picture quality is just chef's kiss. Although, like I said, I don't have the proper 4K setup, I was able to play it nonetheless, and I was blown away with the picture, with its resolution, with its sharpness, clearness, the vibrant colors oozing out of the screen. This is just a perfect presentation. It could be one of the benchmarks of the format, I suppose, and also it's a full screen presentation as well. Just like it was in the good old times of the cinema and the TV screens, when they had to fit it into a different screen format. And I prefer this one because then you really feel like you were engrossed into the whole narrative, like you were there, looking, peeping at those intimate moments of somebody's life. To sum it up, it definitely comes highly recommended.
What kind of movie are we gonna make?
And here's a short description of the plot featured on the IMDb website. Loosely based on Spielberg's childhood growing up in post-World War II era Arizona, from age 7 to 18, a young man named Sammy Fabelman discovers a shattering family secret and explores how the power of movies help us see the truth about each other and ourselves.
You dismiss what he does that's playful or imaginative.
And actually the whole story starts when Spielberg as a kid sees for the very first time a big film on the cinema screen, and that would be The Greatest Show on Earth from 1952, in which there is a very impressive, for that time, crash scene of a running train and a car. And Spielberg is so amazed with that he wants to replicate it, and thanks to that film, that screening, he's succumbed into the world of the cinema, and this is the passion which he has cultivated ever since. The film might have been a critical darling, because on IMDb website it has the average rating of 7.5 out of 10, so pretty high. On Rotten Tomatoes around 91%, which is also remarkable. Alas, it didn't make a profit, because the cost of it was $40 million. It may not sound like a lot, but still it grossed worldwide only $45 million. So I think that it must have been a disappointment at that time, but generally it's been appreciated ever since its premiere. I think that Spielberg right now generally he's a little bit down on his luck in terms of his new releases, just like Ridley Scott. Because their newest motion pictures, they don't earn enough money for some reason. Like the audience is not attracted to them. Okay, I can understand this one because it's a little bit artistic film, even like an indie film, not a part of the mainstream cinema, but some other motion pictures, like The Last Duel by Ridley Scott, or The House of Gucci, or even Steven Spielberg's remake of West Side Story, they simply flopped at the box office. I have no idea what is going on, but I'm glad that I've seen this motion picture, and maybe it was during the pandemic time, that's why, because generally the cinemas were empty. Maybe Spielberg should consider himself lucky because he grossed even $45 million, so at least it returned the budget without the marketing costs. But thankfully, people do appreciate a piece of good cinema, which can be visible in the comment section on the IMDb website, on Rotten Tomatoes, if you have a look at the reviews of the critics, the professional ones, and also, thanks to the IMDb rating, it's also visible that it's a film worth checking out. And after all, it is directed by Spielberg, written or co-written by Spielberg, and it's about a part, very major, big important part of his life. Do you really need any stronger recommendation than that?
Sleep, pretty darling, tonight.
And here are some pieces of trivia regarding the Fabelmans. Here goes the first one. Seth Rogen told reporters that Steven Spielberg often became emotional on the set during production. And here is a quote. It was a very emotional experience. He was crying a lot on set, he said. It's very directly based on his life, and pretty much everything that happens in the movie is something that happened to him. As we were shooting, I would be like, did this happen in real life? And the answer was yes, 100% of the time. So this is very interesting. Like I said, so maybe it is on the one hand loosely based on his life, on the other hand probably there are so many intimate, emotionally packed elements that for him it was a personal project. And I get it that some people, they may think that it's a vanity project, because what kind of panache do you need to have to create a film about your own life? But in this case, to be honest, I wasn't afraid of it, because after all it was Spielberg and I trust the guy, if I may say so, and I was sure that he would deliver, and he did deliver with this picture. So it wasn't just a vanity project, maybe he just wanted to settle the score with the past.
It's surreal. It's not something I ever thought would happen. It's not something I ever felt I needed to happen in order to feel like I had a wonderful career.
And also pay kudos and tribute to his father, who is kind of an unfortunate man, as you will see in the picture if you decide to give it a go.
It's more important than your hobby.
Can you stop calling it a hobby?
And another piece of trivia, Steven Spielberg claimed that although he and Tony Kushner had discussed the idea of the movie for years, it was during the pandemic in 2020 that he decided to write the screenplay with Kushner from scratch, while his schedule was clear. The two of them wrote the script from their homes during lockdown and finished in 2 months. And like I said, maybe that would partially explain the failure, at least the financial failure of this film at the box office. Because grossing over the budget only $5 million more, that's a shame. Come on, it's a Spielberg's film. Do you need anything else to encourage you to go to the cinemas? But at that time it was a crazy time, a crazy period. People would stay away from the cinemas as far as possible, so I can understand it and I can imagine it. But still, we have the physical media to enjoy this film in the comfort of our houses, in our humble abodes.
Fabelmans, yours to own, on digital January 17th, on Blu-ray February 14th.
And the last piece of trivia, which proves that Steven Spielberg is a perfectionist. Steven Spielberg admitted that when recreating his amateur movie, he improved on the original coverage and camera work. And there is a quote, "If I see a good shot, I can't help it." But this is just typical Spielberg. He tries his best, he wants to produce as best of a film as possible, and it is also visible in this film. The camera work is fabulous, it's fantastic. This is just good old Spielberg with a family-friendly film, which constitutes a good screening for everybody. It is a drama, but not a simplistic one, and it has some elements of humor, and like I said, it shows the unbridled love towards the cinema. So for every cinema goer, every cinephile, this is a must, this position, regardless of the fact if you are a fan of Spielberg or not.
You always have to be the center of attention.
Stop shouting at her!
And that would be it. My very short and brief take on the Fabelmans. I was blown away by this film when I saw it 1 week ago. I can't praise this film enough and recommend it enough to you guys. Please give it a go, because I know that it flew under the radar because of many factors and the circumstances at that time. But trust me, it is worth checking out. If you are a fan of films, if you love cinema, you are a cinephile, a cinema goer, an avid one, this is a proposition for you. This is an offer you can't refuse, as Corleone would say in The Godfather.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
If you have liked my video review, please give the video the thumbs up. Please share your comments on the Fabelmans, on Steven Spielberg, on the cast, because we also have Seth Rogen and Paul Dano in the film. If you are not subscribed to this channel, maybe please consider subscribing to it and recommending this video to your friends. And I'll catch you up later. Cheers, until next time. See you.